Welcome back for another Journey on the Fly, the podcast, where we talk about life and fly fishing. Although that may sound very vague, life is never vague, and fly fishing is beautiful in all of its detail and intricacy. And here's where they kind of intersect. This is the podcast where you learn about people who fly fish and fly fishing and people. You learn about different types of people that fly fish. And well, stick around. Tonight we have a very special guest. Well, you're all special, any of you that have been on here. So another very special guest. Tonight we are talking with Andrea Larko. She is a Pennsylvania native, and she is an amazing artist. Absolutely, positively amazing. And we just want to chat about art and fly fishing and life because I love art. I've been an artsy guy my entire life. And this is an encouraging and exciting conversation for me personally. So remember, Journey on the Fly, the podcast can be found anywhere that podcasts are put up, from Google Play to iHeart, iTunes, all those cool places. You can also find us at journeyonthefly.fish. Let's get at it. Okay, so we're here with Andrea Larko, and I did hit your last name, right?
Yeah, that's
Okay,
correct.
that's awesome. You are a Pennsylvania native.
hmm
Okay, that's awesome. And let's start with something really, really goofy because I know it's always weird to talk about, like, okay, we see things that you do and say on Facebook. At least at my age, it's weird to say this. It's probably not in people that are much younger than me. But to see the different things from Instagram and Facebook and things that you post, you post an awful lot about. It looks like a bulldog. Am I correct at that, or am I
That's correct. An English bulldog.
okay?
Yes.
I'm assuming that somewhere in all those images and videos that's your pup,
Yeah, that's my girl Lucy.
Lucy. Okay,
Yep.
what attracted you to the English bulldog, or was it just kind of love at first sight when it comes to dogs?
Ever since I was a kid, I was always enamored with English bulldogs. I'm not exactly sure why. They're very unique looking breed and they have unusual and amusing temperaments. So that always kind of attracted me to them. And Lucy's my second bulldog, and my first bulldog was Sophia, and I loved her so much. And after she passed away, I said, I'm not getting another dog. I can't do this again. But within less than a year, I had Lucy. So it's something about the breed. I
That's
mean, I spend a lot of time in my studio and they're very laid back, very relaxed. She has no problem sleeping a long time if I want to work on a painting or do something, creative and kind of get in the zone. So it's a breed that works out well for me.
That's awesome. It's funny because we've had our dog now for about 11 or 12 years, and Snickers is her name, and she's a chocolate lab and Springer Spaniel mix. We rescued her from Georgia, actually, and
Aw.
we had her since she was pretty much a pup. She was only like 3 months old, I think, when we got her, and because of how I cope with the understanding that she's not going to be with us forever, I like start to look for other dogs. And then I get in trouble for it because everybody thinks I'm trying to replace her. And I'm like, no, 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 no. I'm just trying to get my mind off the fact that, one day she's going to be gone. And she's incredibly unique because of her mix and her temperament and everything like that. So yeah, I follow you very much on the passion for pups, especially when we've had them for so long and care so deeply about them. And they affect us so much.
They really do. Yeah.
So let's start with let's end with the fly fishing stuff. What? No, let me go backwards on this. Usually I kind of talk more like profession, and then we move into the fly fishing. But sometimes they're so interchangeable, it doesn't really make any difference. But I want to know, like, how did you find yourself into fly fishing?
Growing up, I have three sisters, so we all, my dad didn't have any boys, but he wanted to teach us outdoorsy sort of things. And so he would take us fishing, and my mom would take us fishing, and my mother fly fishes as well. So between that, we just all grew up being kind of more outdoorsy, loved being on the water. I mean, I remember fishing when I was so young that I didn't know how to cast very well, and I threw my rod in the water when I was trying to cast. So, you know how it goes when you're that age, but it's just something that always stuck with me. And after college, I wanted to get into fly fishing more when I moved back to Pennsylvania and just kind of wanted some solace and relaxation after living in a city for so many years and after college. And I just needed something to decompress. So I got into fly fishing that way. And, I never looked back. It just became such a different realm in the fishing area that became, for me, it was a lot more of having a connection to the water and your surroundings and kind of being mindful. It was like my therapy. So I just became completely in love with it and enamored. And, I just started fishing all the time and it kind of went from there.
Now, because when I look at your artwork, it is species wise, it's all over the map. Do you have a species of fish that you prefer to chase?
Locally, I would say brown trout and brook trout are probably my favorite. If worldwide, internationally, that's hard to say. I had grayling on my list as a bucket list fish, and I caught one of those, and that was really excited.
Nice.
I have, permit on my list. I did catch a little permit when I was in Belize years ago, but I didn't land it, so that one's still on my list along with the tarpon. And I caught bonefish, and been to Alaska and done all the salmon and stuff like that. So I still have, some Amazon fish on my list and some jungle fish, stuff like that, and a little bit more saltwater fishing. But as far as locally, I'd have to say brown trout are my favorite to target just because they seem to be very picky.
Hmm.
And sometimes I wonder if, like, what I could do to outsmart them. I don't know if they outsmart me often, and I like the challenge. So I think they're my favorite.
It,
Brook trout are more opportunistic feeders. You can kind of throw, things that are generally around the area of whatever's, hatching. But since they're in a lot smaller water and I blue line for brook trout, they're such opportunistic feeders. You just have to be a lot more stealthy when you're fishing for them. With brown trout, you have to know the water more and know the hatches more, at least where I live and where I like to fish. And their temperament a lot more. And then rainbow trout, where I live, the majority of them, unfortunately, are stocked. So they aren't that much of a challenge for me to catch. Normally, if I catch a rainbow, it's like, oh man, put it back. But if I can catch wild rainbow, then that's a different story. And I'd love the colors of wild rainbow, and the small ones with the par markings still on them are just beautiful. But unfortunately, in some of the waters I live locally, with so many rainbow trout being stocked, I don't like fishing stocked water because I just catch so many rainbow trout.
well, I know PA puts in a lot too because they grow faster. So it's good on the money side of everything to make people feel like their license money's going further. So
Yeah,
they are in
that's true.
abundance too. But um, I'm sure you know this, but just to drop a little bit of information in case you don't, and I'm not going to spot burn on this, but being that I know like roughly where you live, because I think you helped orchestrate, if you weren't the orchestrator of it was like a fly fishing and arts festival that was done up in like near Homer City or something a few years ago.
Yes, I orchestrated that for a
Okay.
few years until COVID hit. Correct.
Well,
Yeah, that was me.
well, that is awesome. And I'm sure everybody that's listening to this, which might be like three people, but nevertheless, um, it's more than that. It's actually growing pretty well. But are really interested to know. And I literally just did 6 rabbit trails. I will circle back around to where I was headed. Um, is that in the works? Are you thinking about trying to rejuvenate that, bring it back?
I would like to. The issue is I only did it for a few years and it grew exponentially so much every year that I did it. And I had so many more people from around the world that wanted to come and do my little show. And it's just, to me, it was just like, okay, we're going to go in this local distillery. They have a back room. We'll open it up. We'll have some people over. And then by the last year I did it, it became like, okay, it took me like 3 months to prepare for this show and doing all the advertising, calling newspapers, doing all the marketing and, getting signage up and contacting all the vendors. And it just became way too much for just one person to handle. So I would like to bring it back, but at the moment, it outgrew the venue that it was currently in. I have been looking at some new venues to hold it, which would cost a lot more, which would then, make the vendor fees go up. And then to me, it kind of doesn't feel like it's a small artist community show anymore. And that's really what I wanted. So I'm going back and forth between how I want to navigate this. But I don't see it happening this year, unfortunately, because there are too many questions still up in the air and I don't have enough help at the moment. But I do plan on having it come back soon.
All right. Well, that's encouraging. And if you need any help, I'll volunteer myself if you need
Well,
phone calls or
thank you.
anything in the future because I love the fact that you want to hold the integrity of that small community feeling. I am a fan of, and I'm going to reveal my hillbilly roots here right now. I'm a fan of bluegrass music, and we just attended um, what is actually put on. It's very rare event as far as I know. Nowhere else in the world does this as far as bluegrass and the community, but it's a close knit community of people, and they do a bluegrass winter jam here. They did it in Butler for years, and they just moved it to Beaver. And what they do is all these bands. There's like 50 bands that come together for 2.5 days. They are all there for free. The motel gets booked solid, and there's some other vendors and stuff. And all the money, all the proceeds go to a fund that anybody in that community that ever needs any kind of assistance, whether it's medical bills or their house burns down or something, like they know that they can draw from that through a process, of course. And over like 20 years, they've given like $100,000 in aid money away, which is really cool. And that small community is really where things are so important because people know each other and they thrive from that. And I think you could probably testify to this from what you put on already in your own art or even in the fly fishing side of things that there's probably a lot of inspiration that takes place there as well.
There is, and I really enjoyed doing that show. The issue is, I wasn't making any money doing that show. Obviously, I was probably losing it, to be honest with you. But the whole point of it was, to show the side of fly fishing and all the people that are involved and own small businesses in fly fishing to showcase their work. And what was great was that I had support from people like Sims and Able and, the big companies who were there to support us and gave me gifts to raffle off and things like that. But it wasn't, we're not going to have these big names there. It was all, just small business owners who I thought were fantastic in doing what they were doing and wanted to get their name out there more and locally through the community. And I've had people worldwide contacting me say they want to come to my show, and it's just like, well, I think it would be great if they had something like that in your area. Why don't you see if you can set something up like that where you live? Because if it I'm really trying to get most of just to show around Pennsylvania and southwestern Pennsylvania, even just how many people own fly fishing related businesses. And there were so many that I had to turn down vendors. So to get people in that want to come in from all over the world is just like, I don't know. We don't really have the space. I only had room for maybe like 15 or 20 people to show up every year. But the last year we had it, it was so packed you couldn't really turn around. And I'm like, okay, well, something needs to change here. I'm happy that this is doing well, but it's just there's an evolution to things like that, and I just didn't want it to get to a point where it was something that would turn into something that had a lot of large business involvement and corporate stuff. That's not the purpose of it. I feel very blessed that being a small business owner from Pennsylvania to have my work shown worldwide. I just wanted to be able to kind of do that for other people because a lot of this went up on social media and people worldwide saw it, obviously, which is, why they contacted me and wanted to do the show the next year and be put on the list. But it just gets people's names and recognition out there a little bit more. So anything I could do to help that, because in my process of becoming a fly fishing artist, I've had a lot of people do things like that for me. And it really made a difference in my career and helped out a lot. So any little bit that I could do to help someone else try and get those stepping stones built up, I think, makes me feel like that show was worthwhile and why I would like to do it again.
That's fantastic. And with that said, I appreciate you even taking the time out to chat with me because you have no idea who I am. and
No, I don't, but I mean, and likewise, but that's the great thing about doing this is you get to meet a whole bunch of new people that normally, you don't cross paths with on a daily basis because, I don't really get out much, honestly. I fish and I like spending time in my studio and with my dog, which is what you mainly see on my Instagram. So I like that fly fishing opens doors to meet new people like this way. I think it's really great.
Absolutely. I skateboarded for probably 22 years, and that's what it did for me. I mean, if I could come up with a figure of people I met, number wise over those years, it was something in the 2000s, 3000s, different people that I met that it just took me a lot of places, and it was such a wonderful thing because, first of all, as a parent, it's hard to culture your kids now because everything is about protecting them, and we do that, but it's also about like wanting them to know that there's more people than just those in the house, and people have different ideas and see things differently, and it's important to try to figure that out. And skateboarding and fly fishing has has that relationship like you just described.
Yeah, it's unique that so many skateboarders and downhill mountain bikers and, skiers and stuff all kind of moved over into fly fishing as they got older. It seems like that's the norm. I skateboarded too, but I was not any good at it at all. I have no balance whatsoever, but it was fun. But it's weird that it seems like that whole crowd kind of shifted
Yes,
into fly fishing, which I think is really interesting.
it's like adult play or something. Who knows?
Yeah.
But to come back full circle to where I was trying to head, so you're not far from the Laurel Highlands, and I say this because my favorite fish to go after of all is wild rainbows. And I don't know if you've gotten any time up there, but there's almost a wealth. I don't want to use the word polluted, but for lack of better terms, it's polluted with wild rainbows up there.
I'm aware. That's why I
Yes.
said if I
Okay.
catch wild rainbows, it's something different because they are
Yes.
beautiful there. I
Yes.
agree. Yep. Yeah, that's a great place to go.
Do you tie your flies?
Yes, I
All
do.
right, that's
It's
awesome.
yeah.
The
Yes, I
complete
do.
angler. I love it.
Yeah, I haven't tied in a while though because I haven't had as much time to go fishing. It's weird this past year since I practiced catch and release, we haven't had hardly any rain.
Yeah.
I'm really worried about the brook trout population with so many of the brook trout streams getting so low that they completely dried up. And so the past year for me, I've hardly been able to get out on the water at all, just out of a conservation standpoint as a catch and release fly fisherman. The water temps were way too high in the summer and the water levels were just way too low and I didn't want to add any more stress to them. So yeah, I didn't really feel like everyone's like, "Oh, go over to, Spring Creek and fish that. It's gorgeous over there and the water stays cold year round." And everyone else had the same idea. That's the problem. I really don't like fishing in crowds. So I figured I would just take a break for a bit and, get everything ready for next year. So I haven't really tied that much this past year because I'm very good at losing flies, which is why it gives me the opportunity to tie new ones. But
Well, feel justified in not doing the Spring Creek thing, and I'll tell you why. Because I'm from Central Pennsylvania. I don't live there now, but those are my home waters, and I always take my son out of school, and for my birthday, we go away for a few days, and we camp and we fly fish for the weekend and visit a little family, of course. And we have never, in all my years of there, and even talking to people that are much more seasoned than I am on those particular streams, fly fishing, anyways, is we've never seen it this low and clear for this long ever. And the
hmm
fishing was like we didn't run into a lot of people, but we fished three streams. One was a brook trout stream way deep in the mountains, and we could see fish moving like 20 feet away. The water was so clear, and
wow.
we caught, including a um, a sucker, we caught four fish that whole weekend, and we fished very, very, very hard, long leaders, and laying on our bellies to try to sneak up on these fish. It was a very difficult time fishing, and the water was
Wow.
starting to get cooler, but man, it put these fish in like super, super, super skittish mode like I've never seen before ever.
Yeah, it was difficult this year. So I went out a few times after, a rain. We had the water would go up and I'd go out the next day or the day after before it completely receded. But for the most part, it was just, sometimes you got to give them time to recover.
Yeah.
And myself, as well as an artist, I always have work to do. And since I set my own schedule, I can work whenever. So I just kept working. I was like, well, I bought myself a new fly rod for this year to go blue lining. So I'm excited and ready to go. I'm just kind of waiting for the weather. But we finally have some snow here, which is good. But it's just been still. I was looking at the weather charts the other day. I'm a weather fanatic as well and trying to figure out what's going to happen and when things are moving in to when the fishing will be good and where I should go. And, I have all the apps on my phone that have the water levels for different places. So I don't have to drive around all day and be like, all right, should I try here? Is that water going to be too low? What are the flows like? But it's just, I'm excited for this year. I just really hope we get some more snow and some more rain so the springs fill up and the brook trout, because I'm really excited about going brook trout fishing this year.
Yeah, I am lucky because I live 9/10 of a mile from a great Class A brown trout stream that is incredibly technical, but we have to travel a bit from where we're at right now to get to any brookie streams, which is, of course, it's always worthwhile. The first fish I caught with my great grandfather way back in the mountains in central Pennsylvania, and it was a
Oh,
little brook trout. And the best thing I ever had, which leads me to my next question, the best fishing story that I ever have so far is this literally within maybe 50 yards of where I caught my first trout, let alone brook trout, is where my son caught his. Now I caught it on spinning gear or probably a worm for as if I can remember that far back with my grandpa, but he caught his on the fly and he caught it on top water, which was plus. Which, like you said earlier, they're opportunistic. If you can sneak up to them, they'll take it. But um, so that was just the highlight of my fishing to this point in my life. Do you have any kind of that one story, or even a couple for that matter, that stick out to you as far as maybe it was the fish or the person you were fishing with, or just that day?
oh, so many, so many. When I started fly fishing, I was just in a rut. I had lost my job in New York. I was living in upstate New York and I moved back to Pennsylvania. I couldn't find a job. So my job was, putting my resume and everything out there and going on interviews every day. And then every evening I would go fishing, like almost every day. That it wasn't bad out. Even if it was only for 15 or 20 minutes, I'm like, I'm out the door. So I have a lot of fishing stories. I did that for years, until my business started to pick up and, I didn't really have as much time for it anymore, unfortunately, but so many fishing stories. I think one of the one that sticks with me was the I was fishing in upstate New York. I used to go on a family trip every year camping with my sisters and my dad, and we would do the whole oak orchard thing and go for the browns and the kings. And I was um, netting a fish, and it ended up being a king. And I got the net ready. It's in the water. I'm walking towards this fish. I'm like, okay, I got this. I got this. I get the net down in the water. The king comes like halfway out of the water, like something from Jaws, like coming straight at me. And I just see him going side by side, and his head's kicking. He's got this huge kype, and his teeth look so gnarly. And I'm like, all right, so I'm going to have to lift the net up a little bit. And I'm already in waist high water. And so I got the net between my legs because he was coming right at me. And I go to lift the net up to net him. And with his teeth, he goes right through the net and right between my legs. And then I'm like stuck because the net is around the line and the fish is between my legs and I can't move because I'm in knee deep water. And that was the most ridiculous predicament. And, if you've ever fished upstate New York, Oak Orchard, there are always so many people up there fishing. So it was just a laugh riot for everyone watching this scene. It was so funny. It was just like something out of a movie. It was so I was laughing so hard trying to get out of that situation. Didn't lose the fish though. Ended up finally landing him, but we needed to borrow someone else's net, and I had to follow the fish around with the net that I had that he had broken through, because the outer part of the net was still connected, and it was now wrapped around the line that this like 30-pound king was attached to. Oh, it was such a mess.
That's
But I'll never
fantastic.
forget the look of that fish coming straight at me, and that just stuck with me. I don't know why, because it was like something out of Jaws. It just made me laugh.
So you mentioned you bought a new rod to go fishing. What did you pick up?
I picked up a McFarland that I had Alexander Nelson in Scotland build for me, and
Nice.
I just got it in 2 days ago. I cannot wait. I'm so excited. I already have the reel for it. I got an Able 2 3 weight Brook trout reel that I designed for them to put on it, and it's all lined up and it's ready to go. I'm just waiting for the weather, and I'm out the door. He did it just spectacular. I went in kind of like stealth mode, so he did like black glass with orange wraps with black tips on it that once you epoxy, he didn't put any color preserver on it, so they disappear and you can just see the black tips around the guides,
Oh,
with just
nice.
this beautiful agate stripping guide. And he had me pick out the wood that I wanted, which to me looks like a topographical map of like blue line water that I love to go fishing for. So it's just like the perfect rod for me, and I'm so excited. McFarland just does great glass blanks, and it's weird because he only lives in Belfont, so it's about 45 minutes an hour away from me. To have a builder for the blank that close, and then have the builder of the rod and have it shipped out to Scotland, and then have it come back here was pretty amusing, because I asked Sandy, like, what do you think? What do you like to build on most? And because I saw a lot of McFarland's and stuff in his lineup, and he was like, "Yeah, McFarland's really good." And I'm like, "Yeah, I've been there. I've seen his shop. It's really awesome. I think that would be a perfect fit." And Mike set everything up, and it was just flawless. So I'm really excited to get my first brook trout on that rod and reel set up.
Very, very, very nice. That's awesome. Yeah, I didn't know he was in Belfont actually. That's almost my hometown. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, he's got a really cool shop there. It's neat.
Now, does he now this is just a side note so that I know the next time I go, does he do more than just that? Is he just build custom stuff, or does he have a shop that you can go into and pick other things up?
Well, he usually just rolls blanks and sells them to builders. So if you're a
Okay.
builder and you need a blank, you can go in there and pick something up. I haven't been in there in a few years. I'm not sure if he has any. I know he does build, but I don't know if he has any that are in there for sale or not. At the moment, I don't know.
Well, that's
But
just
his blanks are just fantastic. I'm really excited because I like fishing fiberglass, like faster glass blanks for um, blue lining and small water. It's a lot of fun.
yes. And so to kind of segue in, and I like how you said it, a fly fishing artist, because I don't want to say this side or that side. I do think it all kind of flows together. And I think you're a perfect example of that, which is just what, so having seen your work for a couple of years and things like that, and just in a weird way interacting, just seeing things grow and your success, it really like, and I know this sounds strange because you don't know me, but it fascinates me, but it excites me to see somebody who things just got figured out. Like you're doing, you've taken two incredibly deep passions, which it's obvious that these are passions, and you've figured out how to do this, and in a way that I think you're not probably, and hopefully I'm sure you're thinking this, um, will never get burnt out from it. Like 'cause sometimes when you take passion and industry and you put it together, it's like, I don't want to do that anymore. Everybody warned me about guiding. They're like, yeah, like I have a friend in Central PA who's an incredible fisherman, and I asked him like, because he takes a lot of people out in a therapeutic manner, but when I say a lot, like over 10 years, he's taken 10 people. And I always ask him, why did you not just be a guide? And he always told me, because I want to fish.
Yeah.
And I know that's true. But then, I like to interact with people. I like to teach. I like to, even if I don't know a lot, I want to take what I do have and pass it on, because then that shows me what I don't know, and I can, kind of keep that whole process going of growth. But um, for you, it really seems like you figured it out. And do you have kind of any fears of, as that grows and stuff like that, of like, oh man, this is going to get out of hand? Because it seems like you got your head in your shoulders. That's I don't want to say seems. It's very obvious to me that you've
Oh,
figured
well,
out a
I'm
lot
happy
of
it
this.
comes across that
No,
way,
no.
but that couldn't be farther from the truth.
Well, I mean, at least in a business sense, the sense that we can feel and see through your work and what you're accomplishing. I mean, I
Oh,
love it.
I've
I really
I've
do.
burnt out. Oh,
Okay,
I can't tell you how many times.
okay.
To the point where I'm like basically the last year, I've almost taken off completely from my typical work and done other things because it does become overwhelming. And I have, work coming in that sometimes people, it'll only take an hour or two and they're like, well, this won't take that long. But my waiting list sometimes it can vary from 2 or 3 weeks to up to a year for
Mm.
certain projects. So that does feel overwhelming to me, and it does burn me out because sometimes I feel really bad when I have a lot of work coming in and I don't want people to feel like they need to wait, a really long time for me to get things accomplished. So I'll be doing 5 or 6 commissions at the same time. And it quickly turned into me becoming a very bad insomniac because
Mm.
I enjoy working at night. It's a lot quieter, it's more peaceful. I can concentrate easily. I also deal with migraines, which
Mm.
sunlight is not my friend most of the time. So I work, usually I work night shift. The past year I've been more on daylight schedule because I've just been doing a lot of work for myself, which I haven't been putting on social media because it's nothing that I want to do for someone else. It's just things I want to do for myself to kind of like ease the burnout process and get my creativity moving again. And that is the issue with being an artist commercially is all the commissions I have coming in and all the work I had coming in was for everybody else. And I wasn't doing anything for myself. So it did very quickly become a job, and it was incredibly overwhelming and way too much for me to handle. And my business now at this point, 10 years up plus on, I need to hire someone or at least a few people here very soon because the side of my business, which is packing orders and doing inventory and doing marketing and social media stuff, doing my accounting, all of that has now taken up so much of my time that I don't really have that much time to do art as much, which is
Mm.
basically what I did the last years. Um, I only did a few small projects and everyone else had to wait because doing prints and doing patches and sewing hats and the rest of my business just took up so much more of my time than I expected it to, that something has to give at some point. So like I said, I just decided with the way the weather was going, I didn't go fishing as much, and I just started doing some artwork for myself, like little sketchbook things every night, and I've just been drawing and doing sketchbook stuff. But the majority of my business has taken over to the point where, yeah, I need to hire someone here soon if I want to keep this going. Otherwise, basically, it's just going to be what's left in my Etsy shop and, keeping that up to date, but no new artwork is going to be coming out. And I don't want that to happen. It takes about 2 weeks for me to create a new design. So I have to set that time aside, and I'm not the best at self-discipline when I start working on a project. I want to keep going, which is why I'll work through the night until the sun comes up and be like, okay, I really should go to bed now. But if I get moving, I like to keep going because I don't have a very steady hand every day. So when I do and things are I feel creative and I'm in the mood to do stuff like that, then I like to just go until I can't see straight anymore.
Well,
So I'm unfortunately, I mean, I don't mean for it to come off online that I've got everything together all the time, because nobody does. But
no.
we all know social media is the highlight reel of everyone's life. But every now and then I do post a lot of the mistakes that I've made on my artwork and things like that, just to show the reality side of things, because it's not all, oh, you get to do what you love for a living. That's awesome. Because I do. And it is awesome. But it is also 16-hour days, 7 days a week, sometimes for weeks on end. And, you know, that's that's the part that people don't see.
Well, I love that. Not the stress side of it, but your work ethic, because that's quite rare. And I love the fact that you're being honest about all those things. I mean, I wanted you to just lay it out for all of us, like what's the trick to make life just great, but I'm
Well, they say
kidding.
do what you love and you never work a day in your life,
Yeah.
or you'll work every day in your life, but you'll feel like, at least for me, it's something, it's my legacy. It's something that I'm
Yes.
going to leave when I'm not here anymore. This is the way I want to, like, express myself, is through my artwork. And it is very, I guess, in a selfish way, I it's very validating to have so many people enjoy pieces of my work that sometimes come from some of the most difficult times in my life, and for them to be so accepting of that. So it's very interesting to see how artwork is perceived by different people. And you can see the more intricate and crazy and just like some busy my work gets, normally my mind is just either in like this super random, like either I'm going through something or like I have a lot of anxiety. So that's why I started doodling and drawing like this in the first place. It is my therapy in a way.
Mm.
But to have that out there and put things like that are so personal that people may not realize are as personal as they are, and to have it blow up and go the way that it has gone over the last 10 years is very validating. So that's what keeps me going.
Well, that gives me a little bit of insight into a gentleman that I think we both know that I'll be bringing on here in a couple weeks, because uh, maybe you and I need to like rustle him together and get him out fishing, because he hasn't been fishing in like 10 years or something. He told me, which is Keen. He and I have been chatting in the back, and he's like, he's another amazing artist where he's taken his passion for fly fishing and done stuff. But obviously, he has larger reasons, which I'll let him talk about when we get to that point, for why he hasn't gotten fishing as much as he's concentrating on his work. But he's a guy that we need to get out and get a rod in his hand, for all the reasons that you stated earlier, for the therapy and the peace and the connection to the water, which actually
Yeah,
leads me.
it's very healing. It
Yes.
really is.
What?
Yeah. And even though I only went a few times this past year, every time I go, it's like, why don't I do this more often anymore? I need this in my life. But yeah, it is something that people find their own little niche and things that help them along those ways. And fly fishing has definitely been that for me. So yeah.
So you have also, because this kind of makes a connection between these two things. You have done the logo, I'll call it, because it's the logo for a group that I have somewhat recently joined, which I'm really excited to get my hands dirty with, which is the Mayfly Project. And first of all, it's fantastic work, period. And that is the logo, the Mayfly that you designed to develop for them. What was that, something that they reached out to you? You reached out to them, or it's just like, hey, I want to do something?
Oh, they reached out to me. That was a very short notice piece, and I wasn't taking on any work at the time. I was actually visiting my sister whenever they contacted me, but I did have my iPad on me, and I thought it was just such a great cause that he wanted to start, and hearing about him like talk about his passion for what he wanted to do and why he wanted to do it. I was like, I don't care if I'm on vacation. This is something I think needs to be done, and I would love to be a part of this. I just think it's such a great idea, and the way he had everything come to fruition from knowing how Jess started the Mayfly project is just phenomenal, and how far it's reached around the world now. It's amazing. So I was visiting my sister, and she has two kids, and my niece and nephew were helping me pick out colors and stuff, because, excuse me, it's more, for kids, and one is something whimsical. So I ran my ideas past the kids, be like, should I send this over to him? What do you think about this idea or that one? And they picked out the ones they liked, and that's what I sent him. So that turned out to be a really fun design that turned around really quick while I was on vacation. And I couldn't be happier for Jess and everything that they have done for the adoption kids that they work with, and it's just phenomenal. I don't even know what else to say. He has become someone that I'm very proud to say that I've been able to work with. Yeah. And that's awesome that you're getting on board with it too, because they do such great things for so many people and so many kids that really need an outlet as well.
Yes, and I'll keep actually what you said and use that as suspensefulness to keep people posted and listening when I have him and a couple other of the folks on, because we're doing. I'm working out of the which is the closest one, the not the Weirton, Morgantown project, because it's the closest other than Central PA, and part of it is to learn the process and hopefully do something here, because it's not like I'm stealing anything. I mean, it's such a huge need with these kiddos, and developing trust with adults, and introducing to the water and conservation and all that is incredibly helpful and therapeutic. So I'm excited to see it grow. And are you attending the Cabin Fever show at all this year?
I had an invitation to go. I'm not sure. I had plans on going. I've been getting over this like cold on and off, and still haven't been feeling 100%. So I'm not sure if I want to go, like if I should go or not, because I know it's coming up here soon. Which is why I've had to put you on mute a couple times, because I am still getting over a cough. But I would really like to go. I haven't been, in years since everything with COVID. In the first year that it came back, it came back last year, right?
Yeah. Wait.
Yeah, I wasn't able to make it last year,
No,
so I
no.
really would like to.
I think this year's the first year they've done it in like.
Is this year the first year?
I think so.
Yeah, because I know when COVID hit, they had stopped everything, understandably, and I did the same with my show. But I would like to go and support what they're doing. I think it's awesome. But as far as having a booth or anything like that, I've done so many shows. I'd rather just like to go and see what other people are doing and talk to everybody, and support other people in the industry as well, than try and get everything prepped to do the shows anymore. For me, it's a lot of work, and I don't know if I'm up to it this year just quite yet.
I understand. Yeah, I ended up with something weird that like will seem to have not gone away. Like sickness wise, it was like this cold, but like I could breathe, but then it would like wake me up in the middle of the night and I'd cough for like 5 hours straight. And it would not go away for like 4 weeks. And then finally 2 days ago, I woke up with like most of my strength back. But then my voice still sounds like I'm halfway into puberty at like age 46. So, but that's fun for everybody around me. They can make fun of me, and at least I can bring some happiness to people. But yeah, I know that a couple of the people were supposed to set a booth up for the Mayfly project and kind of introduce it to the area a little bit more at that show.
Oh, great.
So that'll be really good.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I'm going to try and make it. I had a couple of people contact me to say, you're more than welcome to sit at my table. If you just come hang out, we miss seeing you, because, with everything going on the last few years, I haven't gone to any shows, and I'm not going to the show in Jersey this year either. So, it'll just be nice to connect to everyone again, and get back out there and get out of my studio for a while. So I'm hoping to, but I'm not 100% sure just yet. I'm waiting on this cough. Like I said, I got a cold it was about a month ago, and I always get a lingering cough afterwards, and I'm still waiting for it to go away. So it is what it is. I'm just trying to take precautions. I don't want to be that person walking through a crowd of people coughing, and everyone's like, oh no. I don't want to be that person.
Yeah, it's a
So,
little different now.
yeah, I'm playing it by ear. Exactly. I'm just trying to be respectful.
That's awesome. So when and just a couple more questions here for you.
Of course.
When did it kind of become like what was the catalyst or the moment or moments that kind of led up to okay I love fly fishing. This has come from my family, which I love that story. My fly fishing story is not necessarily that we weren't an outdoorsy, we were blue collar, work your skins your hands to the bone people, but it wasn't an outdoor family. So from like taking all that and transitioning it into, so you went to Rochester. I think I read in your bio somewhere. Um,
Yeah, I went to RIT.
okay, so when did it kind of become this like catalyst? What were the steps that took your fly fishing, your art, and they kind of combined it into what's happening today?
Well, basically, it was RIT.
Oh, okay.
I went to an out of state private college, and it was not cheap. And I'm not gonna lie. I mean, after I graduated, I thought, everything was going to be good and I had jobs and stuff lined up. And then the economy went and I didn't have a choice. I had to move home. And with as much as my student loans were, I was working two jobs more than, 60 hours a week and I still couldn't get by. It was just, I wasn't even able to pay the interest on my student loans. There was so
Mm,
much. So whenever I started fly fishing, I started drawing some stuff like I always do. And I wanted some paintings as well for my inside of my fly tying area. I posted those online after, Instagram had started and I'd been posting that I'd been fly fishing and a lot of the flies that I'd been tying. So I had been gaining that following apparently, which organically turned into that same crowd seeing the artwork that I started to do for my fly tying area. And it went off from there very quickly. And um, it was within not even 6 months that I quit both jobs. And I had people booked up for commissions over 2 years in advance. And I said, if I don't do this now, I'll never do it. And this is an opportunity where I'm able to make more than what I'm making now. If I'm able to get all these projects done, I need to sit down, really figure out my schedule, when all this is going to happen, get everything set up. And since then, I've been doing it ever since. And I've been lucky enough to this point, still, even after 10 years, I haven't reached out to anyone for work. It's all come my way. So I've just been really, really lucky and met some other amazing, just fantastic fly fishing artists that if they're too booked on their stuff, they'll send people my way and vice versa. So it's a really wonderful community of fly fishing artists. And I couldn't be happier to say that I'm a part of that. And some people that I've looked up to and love their artwork for years now are people that I just call sometimes just to say, hey, what's going on? And it's kind of surreal as well, which is really neat. And some of them I've just become really good friends with. So it's been a fantastic journey. But it all started because I had student loan payments that need to get paid somehow, and 2 day jobs weren't cutting it. And I knew if I started doing my own business, I would get out of it what I put into it, and I put my all into it. So that's this is where I am now, and I couldn't be more proud of how the journey that it's taken me. And like I said, it hasn't been easy, but it's like anything else. You get out of it what you put into it. And I just put everything I had into it. So,
I love that because it's real and it's inspiring, and it's inspiring personally to me, and I know anybody that listens to it that will be inspired. And I know that you've probably heard this a million times, but I sincerely mean this. Good for you, and
oh,
good for you to
thank you.
continue it. Seriously, I mean I
I
know,
really appreciate that.
like of course some of these questions are a little bit leading, like when I kind of asked you about the burnout stuff, because it's obvious that that happens to a lot of people that are
Oh,
in the
yeah.
world of passions and so forth. It just is. I know that. But for the sake of other people, because I've been through it. I mean, and I know I'm probably bumped myself into it again at another point because I've just dove into something, when I didn't have the time to dive into it just recently. But it's one of those things, like you said, that you will get out of it what you put into it, and you've got to give it everything you got. I mean, you owe it to yourself. You owe it to sometimes even family and the people around you to inspire them. And that's one of the reasons I do, do what I'm doing for my son is to hopefully, because he's very, I hope he listens to this podcast, in particular to this interview with you, because he turns 15 in a couple months, and he's been writing and illustrating since he's been 5. He has
Oh, wow.
60, 70 of those composition books filled with comics and characters he's developed, and he's even written a couple scripts for these silly movies that we all the family, including his grandparents and stuff, played in, and it's hilarious.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So, and that's not the easiest thing from a parent's point of view. Like if you're good at hockey, okay, we go broke buying you hockey gear and traveling all over the world and making that happen. But when somebody's got a passion like writing or art, it's like, okay, you pat them on the back, okay, keep going, it looks great. But like, how do you figure that out? Is, well, we one of the things we said is that we never say no to a book because books inspire. And I've always told them that if you want to go somewhere in the world and you can't go right now, or you want to get into somebody else's head and understand somebody, read a book because it'll take you there. They always do that. And
Mm-hmm.
now he's pushing back on me, and he's like, Dad, you need to write a biography, and you need to do this, and you need to write a journal. And I'm like, I'll just sell you all the rights. You can have all that stuff. But uh,
Well, that's the hard thing, especially I know for parents for to have children that are in a creative field. It's like, what are you going to do? You know what I mean? So when I went to college, yeah, I have a BFA in illustration and fine art, but I minored in marketing, PR, advertising, stuff like that, because I was trying to be realistic about what I was going to do for a living. And illustrators, let's be honest, and artists in general, there aren't jobs for that anymore. If
yeah,
you want it, you have to make it. And if you want to make it, you better love it because it's going to be your life for a very long time, especially when you're starting a business. It's going to take everything you've got, and you have to be willing to make those sacrifices. If you're not, I mean, I'm not going to lie, there are days where I've sat here and thought, when my work gets stolen so often, and I'm sitting here thinking, it would be so nice to just wake up, go to work, come home, and be able to do whatever I want to do and have an evening off, and not have a studio down the hallway from my bedroom. That is because my studio is in a spare bedroom right now. Every day I wake up, it's like work is right there, and I know what I have to do. And I have 200 emails I have to answer, and I have contracts that have to go out. I have orders that need to be packed. It's like, you got to make sure your priorities are straight and it's something that you're all in about, because if it's not, you're not going to last. You have to have that passion for it, and it's going to take up a lot more time than you think it's going to, especially when you're getting started, because the first few years are definitely rough trying to figure out all the business side of things as well, which, being an artist and a creative person, I didn't have a lot of that background. So you can't have also enough pride to say, I'm going to do this all me, when realizing everyone has their shortcomings. I realize now, and pretty quickly, I can't do some of these things. I need to have an accountant. I need to have people like that to do things like that for me, because they're out of my realm. So it does take a bit of a hit on your personal side as well. You kind of have to humble yourself a bit, and reach out for help when you need it, and know that there are a lot of people there that support you. I mean, I know when my last bulldog, she didn't have insurance because she was my first English bulldog. She ended up having cancer and needing surgery that was immediate. And I had like a $5,000 vet bill I had to pay 2 days later. And if I had any normal job, this would have been a horrible
yeah,
way to go. Not having like a lot of savings, being in my early 20s, but being able to run my own business and putting it out there on social media, like, hey, I'm having a big sale. My dog just had immediate surgery. I didn't know this was going to happen. I was able to basically wipe out all of my inventory. I had a huge sale and was able to pay her vet bill like 2 days later, which is something that, I wouldn't have been able to do if I had a normal job. What are they going to say? Yeah, here's like 3 months of your salary. We'll just give you because your dog needs it right now. No, so just know that there are a lot of people that are on your side too. And it's just been the followers of my work over the years have really helped me out more than I can even ever say, to the point where exactly with every order that comes in, I write a handwritten thank you note, just because every single order means so much to me. Like, that's paying for my groceries, that's paying, for me to have my dog and, you know, have a vehicle and get new glasses and pay for my insurance. I mean, those are simple daily things that if you buy these things on Amazon or Walmart, you're lining someone's pocket who, let's go buy another yacht. But for a small business owner, it changes their life. Every single order that comes in, I hear it on my phone. It's like, yes, what is it? Let's go. you know, and it's really exciting.
Back up a minute, because you said something, actually, as funny as this is, of all your amazing artwork and every which way that things have gone for you, the thing that triggered my email to you originally was a post that you made about AI and stealing art. And
Hmm.
for me, like, I don't really know what that means, and I'd like you to explain that and kind of take a little moment and give you a soapbox to say some things about that. But for me, I'm a big proponent of, not a proponent of, I'm a very big opponent of stealing intellectual and creative property. Like, it frustrates me really badly, and I'm involved with it at all. It just makes me feel gross if I ever discover it, and because I understand a lot of what you're saying, um, in what goes into what you've accomplished, and the amount of hours that go into producing one thing or this or whatever. So take a minute or two and have a little bit of freedom there, as I hope you felt this entire time, anyways, to say some things about that. Like, what is AI stealing, and some various things you've run into with this?
Well, at the moment, there are actually class action lawsuits that are going up against AI art, and it will become something that you'll probably see on my story and my feed a lot more predominantly as these lawsuits happen. But basically, what's going on is, there are apps where you can go in and say, I like this style, I like this picture, I want, this much detail in it, and you maneuver a couple of settings, and then it pops out, quote unquote, your artwork.
Mm.
And you don't really think that's a big deal. And this is the new thing. Like, whenever digital artwork came out and people were drawing on iPads and stuff like that and using Procreate and using Photoshop, there was a big hoopla about that too. But it got to a point where, you figure out where the line is. And everything with AI art right now, there is no line. So what these generators are doing is they are basically searching through the internet for all different kinds of artwork. Doesn't matter who the artist is, unless it's Disney. Anything that has to do with Disney is being excluded because they know Disney has the pockets to go after these people. Small artists, on the other hand, don't. Um, it's going through and picking up all the images that are online, sorting them into different styles, different sections, different genres, different mediums, things like that. So whenever someone goes on their phone, wants a different style, it's being picked up from the style of artists, either living or dead now,
Wow.
who gave no consent for their artwork to be used. So that is wherein lies the issue, is people are entering art competitions using AI art that they have they didn't put anything into other than hitting a couple buttons on a computer.
Oh,
That
wow.
it takes no talent, it takes no knowledge other than flipping a couple switches and figuring out what picture you want to use, which even then doesn't even have to be your picture. You could steal someone else's photo, which opens up a whole other box of worms, and someone else's style, and then calling it your own artwork. Wherein lies the issue is all of these artists that are having their artwork and their styles put into these generators gave no consent. Just the fact that it's online, and anyone now with the business obviously is online, and so are their portfolios and so is their work, is now at risk of their stuff being stolen and resold and made by basically anyone at a lower price or free, because it is now accessible to the world. wherein lies the issue. So that's the issue that I have with AI art. That's my little soapbox rant. There are class action lawsuits, like I said, right now that are going on against these companies. Where these are going to go, it'll probably, in my guess, turn out to be the same thing as anything else. Yeah, it's all online, but you can't take what you want. And, I'm a part of some of these class action lawsuits as well at the moment, just because it's not okay. And artists can't sit back and say, yeah, that's fine. If you want to take my stuff, take my business, take my livelihood, give it to a computer generator and have someone else make it and use it and make a lot of money off it. If someone else wants to use it for advertising or win awards for it, when it's nothing that they had any say in creating other than pulling an image up on their phone. So it has become sort of a hot button topic with a lot of artists, especially in the last, I'd say, 6 to 8 months since a lot of these generators have come about.
Well, yeah, and rightfully so. And first of all, I'm sorry for any of you guys going through that, but I'm also, wish you the best with the suits and the legal side of all of it. That things will hopefully be reconciled quickly and put to an end, because it's it's ridiculous in 110 ways. But wow, thank you for actually laying that out. I appreciate that. Plus, now I understand it a lot better myself. Well,
Yeah, it's not just taking someone's artwork and selling it like as their artwork is. It's taking portions of that, whatever, artwork you like, and making it quote unquote your own by using your own photo, stuff like that. So yeah, that's, and there are a lot of people out there saying, oh, artists are just worried that their jobs are being stolen. No, that's intellectual theft.
yeah.
I mean, if you worked your entire life fighting for your creativity and what you're doing and trying to come up with something original, to have someone else steal it and profit off of, yeah, it's something that is very personal. And I'm not going to sit back and not say anything on my social media pages. It is something that I will bring up from time to time and share, because I think it does need to be acknowledged.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad you said it. I'm glad you were willing to lay that out 100%. Well, let's, because I know how valuable your time is. I want you to get back to work or go rest or go. When I used to get a new skateboard, and when I was younger, it would sleep with me that night. So I'm sure that you have that new rod right near your bedpost. So
Yeah, it's ready to
just
go.
waiting.
It's ready to go.
Well, the good news is that the water table is in a really good place, as long as we, as long as things continue that way, and the spring and hopefully the summer will carry all what we're getting in right now, because things are looking better anyways than they were a few months ago. But
I agree.
so give everybody a couple places, and I will put links, if I have the freedom to do that with you, to anything you mentioned from this question, which is if you wouldn't mind giving people ways to track you down, to find you on the interweb, so they can see your work and show you patronage and things of that sort.
Oh, that would be great. My Instagram is at Andrea Larko, Larko, and my Facebook is facebook.com/art by Andrea Larko. And my email is andrealarko@gmail.com. I am booking up for the rest of this year for commissions. If anyone has a custom piece they want for, I do tattoos, logo designs, apparel designs, pretty much anything and everything. So if they're looking for something like that, and my website is just andrealarko.com. Right now it'll forward you to my Etsy site, as this year I'm building my own website. So in the meantime, Etsy is my place to go, and that's where all my work is. If you're looking for prints, hats, buffs, stuff like that, you can find it on there.
Very, very cool. And make sure you all go check those places out, please, and show some patronage to her, please. In the meantime, keep my phone number and my email if you really do decide to do the fly fishing and arts thing again. If I can help, honestly, like make calls or emails.
I really appreciate
that. Because I'm down for all that, because I absolutely positively love that whole world, and maybe one day we can discuss my forgotten art, which is literally the dulling of my creative side through life, and how I just haven't picked it back up again. So maybe this conversation is what I needed to inspire me to do just that. So.
Well, I would be happy and honored if I did that for you. I mean, that's what we all do for each other, right? It's just inspire and try and learn from each other and go from there. That's all you could do.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I thank you so much for taking time out to chat with us tonight.
Well, thank you for speaking with me. It was really nice. And if you guys have any questions, you can feel free to email me too. I gave you my email address. And yeah, I really appreciate the support.
Awesome. Well, have a good night and don't stay up too late.
Thank you. You too. I'll try not to.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Andrea Larko. Man, what a fantastic interview once again. Please go check her out. And honestly, I'm just not going to give you much end commentary on this. I'm going to let this interview speak for itself. So remember, keep your lines wet and your flies in the fish's mouth. Till the next time, God bless.